them see it. And they will follow those false gods and dictates wherever those politicians lead. But in the midst of all of that is the great change that is actually happening on our planet. The great change of the new vibrations that are sweeping over every state in America and every country and nation on this planet. Because people must decide. It will not be a matter of, I didn't know better and therefore spare me. Yes, people will ask for mercy when they're judged, because justice will make most of us go to pot. We need mercy, not justice. At the same time as people are turning and searching for the new creator, will be this false creator coming back in the form again of New World Order technology. But as the molecules of oxygen stabilize on this planet, all the powers that everybody ever wanted will return to them. As the molecules of oxygen raise the vibrations to the magnetic field of this earth, everybody who is sick will get well, and everybody who cannot adjust will get sick. The earthquakes, the tidal waves, the droughts, the plagues are here because people could not and would not turn from the falseness to the truth. Those of you that can feel it and understand what I'm saying is at least 98% true, then can vibrate with that. You think you understand as I do. Those of you who feel that what you've heard has been foolish, that can see no practicality in it, that is also your judgment. You serve and follow whoever you would. But I say it's a time of choice. It's a time of mass. It's a time of, again, the left brain giving out and the right brain settling in. And I want to end it before I turn it over for questions and answers with a poem. I am somewhat of a poet. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. You have to determine whether this is one or the other. O magnificent beast, and it's called simply Hugh-Man. O magnificent beast of this strange, enchanted land, you roam your asphalt jungle clothed in skin that we call man. Insensitive, incredulous, incongruous to all of God's created works that you find both large and small. Just how long can you wander in your self-created web of total make-believe about who and what was said, changing who, changing how, and what was in antiquity, as the whole world comes to know how you've lied of history? By distortion, deletion, deception, and disguise, you've altered written records from the cosmos to our skies. You've reconstructed universes and summoned even hell, and there seems to be no end to the lies your mouth can tell. What you view on graphs and prisms, what you see in scope seems too staggering to your mind and ego brain, and so to cope, you'll distort the very heavens. You'll change the smallest beasts, and there seems to be no end to let your fame cease. And yet you know within, from the most unto the least, that your time is running out, and your lies, they soon must cease. As we view each bright new morning, even through polluted skies, we know there is a creator, for creation never lies. And so we come together, we New Agers tried and true, seeking blessings from our creator and divine release from you. I thank you.
How are you? Are you familiar with the book Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock?
I'm sorry, Fingerprints of the Gods by whom?
Graham Hancock?
No, I'm not.
Are you familiar with the idea of man pre-existing before the Ice Age at a high development?
Yes.
The dates of May 5th, the year 2000, you were talking about the electrical alignment of the Earth and how the planets are going to line up at that precise time. Do you think there will be some kind of cataclysm at that point?
Well, I've heard the date given from the 2nd to the 4th, and now, of course, the 5th. Some are even given the 12th, 2012. I think that sometime in our chronology, there will be alignment of the planets. Our planet will be the only one in opposition to all of the 12 other planets in our solar system, including the Triskaidekaphobia, the returning 13th one. And I think at that time that the pull on Earth will be such that it will either be destroyed, and I don't think this planet's going to be destroyed. I think it's just going to cause a lot of souls to just be shunted away. It's going to cause great cataclysms. It's going to cause a frequency change, as far as I believe.
Are you familiar with the Mayan or terminology about 2012, the ending of the fifth sun?
Yes.
And what are your comments on that?
Well, in looking at a lot of the Mayan, and to me, anytime a topographer or geographer says Mayan or historian, they're talking really about Olmec. They just won't use the word Olmec. That the Olmecians knew of the order of the serpents that was coming again here, and that the Mayan calendar, as they call it, the Olmecan calendar, dealt with the Sirius son of Procyon and the orbits of Venus, as they stated. But Venus was only one of the protectorates of the Sirius system of Procyon, Canis B, Canis Major, and Canis B. And that, to me, it's a fulfillment of prophecy. It's a time for those souls who still left here that had the bloodline of the gods to come into their own, and a time for Earth to take on a new vibration, complete this vibration.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Dr. Blair. My name is James. October 16th of this year, I had the opportunity to go to the Million Man March, and the spirit that I felt at that march, to me, it signified a change that is about to happen. I don't know if it was just for melanin people or not, but I would like to know what your views were about the march.
What my feelings were, I didn't understand the last part of your phrase.
Right.
What my feelings were about the march?
Right.
Well, appreciate your going there. My feeling is, and our group did what we could to protect them metaphysically, because they had given 10.5 months for a very nefarious people in general, and specifically certain Delta Command, to really act against them. That area there is a very interesting area, to say the least. All of Washington is honeycombed with tunnels, caves, and everything else. And particularly at that mall and the reflecting ponds that lead from the Washington and Memorial and Lincoln, what they call it there, the obelisk there, to the chambers of the Congress, is just honeycombed. They have what they call psionic and psychotronic machinery, psychotic devices. They have used ELF prolifically throughout the world and could have turned it on those men there. It's a very dangerous time. But it was a time when those men raised their vibrations and consciousness. If you remember there, the Crips in the blood even changed colors. Those who understand gang terminology, this was two of the most nefarious gangs in the black sections of Washington, D.C. They came together and grew hands. These men stood for 18 all the way to 2 hours and didn't move. The rains that came before that day ceased that morning and started after they left. These were a terminal time for the United States to remember where it had fallen from, reminding of its melanated carriers of the word, and to stop the falseness. Now, whatever they intended to do covertly, and maybe some of the really hostile, overt acts that are capable of being done by those who have little consciousness, it didn't happen. For even the wind gods, the elements, understood when vibrations were raised and understood that this was a turning point. Things were so still there, just amazing, per se, if you would. It was the last warning for the United States government, if it still has representatives of the people and for the people, to take a stand. Instead, we're still following right-wing dictates that everybody knows are wrong, because they can't balance a budget, and they still have pensions that they're denying the aged who have worked hard for them here. As long as the government leads the people will fall away from the government. Thus, you'll have to have more armies, more nefarious ways of destroying people, and the planetary regime will destroy the planet or destroy those forces even quicker. They're bringing on the destruction of the last vestige of republicanism. And I don't mean republicanism by a party, I mean of a right to rule of the people. the true Republican, the true Democrat. Free people, free choices. If that is not honored, and Bosnia and the fact that they're about to send troops over there shows it's not going to be honored, because there's 150,000 foreign troops now in the United States. Never before has an invading army not had to invade. They have that much manpower here, not even again from the time of War of England. And with the Olympics, you're going to see a lot of changes here. They're all going to be bad, because the evil must always be shown for what it is before people will actually turn for righteousness. So I think that that was a turning point in the history when 2 million or more black men came together in peace. Not 400,000, even they had to lie about that. Some people just can't tell truth anymore. So as a consequence, if you lie to yourself, you can lie to anybody, and if you lie to yourself, your soul is threatened, and they set up their own destruction. I think it was a turning point that all of us should really remember, because it happened in our lifetimes.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Blair, I'd like to welcome you to Portland, and I thought maybe I'd get a chance to ask you this question one-on-one, but it doesn't really matter to me. I'm glad there's someone who obviously is way far out in front as a front runner, way out there. When I was in prison in 1984, I was under the influence of some marijuana, for one thing, and I'm a praying person. And because I was under the influence, I didn't want to pray. But I had been looking at this picture that somebody had sent me of a pyramid. And things started making a lot of sense to me. And I thought it was probably a period of time, maybe 2 hours. But later on, I found out it was just a matter of minutes. And all this information that started making connections started leading to that same one thing, that was God. And because I was so grateful for this information, I felt like I wanted to pray. But I said, no, I'll wait, because I was under influence. But I was like a voice telling me to say, no, you need to pray. I wouldn't do it for about 5 minutes, and then finally I was like forced to pray. And I went down so fast on this cement floor that I ruptured blood vessels in my eye, and I couldn't see out of my left eye for a whole year. And I'm saying this because one of the things that I seen was like the eye on that pyramid. I was able to look through the pyramid, and I'm real close to that pyramid. Never been on a pilgrimage, and in some ways I feel like I don't need to, because for at least 3 or 4 days I couldn't think of nothing that I didn't have the answer for. So, and then after I got out of prison, I was scared I would maybe even get killed in there. I said, well, I done woke up and I'm in the lion's den. So after I got out, and I kept all this information to myself. But at any rate, I was thinking that there's something special about this northwest corner. I studied, not to be no Mason, I'm a Muslim, but I looked into Masonry, and I found out one of the things that they joke about is having all this information in front of people's faces, and they don't know nothing about it. They consider that 85% of the people are unworthy of this type of information. But they talk about the northwest corner a lot in Masonry, and Hiram being raised. And I always looked at this country as being like Solomon's Temple, and Oregon and Washington or wherever being the northwest corner. So I felt like you coming here, you may have gotten some kind of, I felt like this area was special. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like some of the people that I know and some of the things that we talk about make this area special. So the question was not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to know how you felt about that, how you feel about, certain areas having more meaning or less meaning or some kind of significance to this particular Oregon and Washington area.
This area is very special. The United States at this time is very special. The fault lines that run here, and I have a booklet of prophecies. I think it might have either been left on the airlines or my members of my group took it down to L.A. That's where I'll be going tomorrow. So I don't have it here. It's only $3.50. If you're interested, you can write to us. We can mail it to you. And it lists also the 20 most earthquake-prone cities in the United States and why. Here, if I'm not mistaken, is the Rampado Fault. The area again that, and I don't like to speak things that I don't know. I really need reference to that because it was well researched, and there are a number of fault lines outside of just the one that we hear about in California that run here in Vancouver and on the islands and the oceans, of course, the lakes that are there. This area is also special because it is part of the California-Oregon strip And metaphysics teaches that everything west of the Rocky Mountains is not supposed to be here or was not here at one time. The land that was extant at that time was crashed into by the vestiges of Lemuria or Mu or Pan as it was called, one of the so-called lost continents. And this is why everything west of the Rockies where you are and in California grows larger, is different, has more oxygenating capacity. It's a whole different vibration that was here. Here was also part of the last so-called ice age, which I call magnetic calamity, where part of what we now call Canada, which at one time was very fertile, and the last outpost, shall we say, islands of a very fertile continent, was also full of a very strong vibration, and all of these vibrations got superimposed, it meshed together, forming what is called the Rocky Mountain Range. The vibrations here were like a higher sequence. There was a choice here where people could diversify. They could take a high road or a low road, and they could do so with ease. There was a time here again where the very trees, and of course there's always given something to let you know the Oregon vortex was your means here, just like the Nile when the extraterrestrials reversed the Nile. That was their sign there, that these were holy lands. That these were lands where magnetic anomalies could happen and you could raise frequency or lower frequency. You have choices when you come to places like this. There are 16 places like this on the earth. I think that here, the way you are going to go was tested by Russia in either 86, 87, or 78, 79, with this project by which they used the staccato woodpecker ELF waves from Riga in Siberia and bombarded people here in Eugenie, Oregon. If you go back and check out the history about 10 years ago, you find that the crime rate went up there. They used this as a test module during the so-called Cold War, which really never was, just a time when supposedly there was a different enemy, communism this time, to test people out here in Oregon to find out how they would react to the woodpecker effect, what they call the ELF subliminal waves. This is a very unique city. This is a very unique state. Right there at Crater Lake, if you listen to the legends of Crater Lake, it says that one of the biggest meteors or spaceships ever was landed there. Of course, many people think the Native Americans are all foolish, so they don't respect so-called Indian legends, because they're not Indians. That's why we refer to them as Native Americans. They had their own tribes. Columbus, of course, was an interesting person. Here at Crater Lake, at Klamath Falls, at Klamath Lake, you have the algae that can hold more oxygen, which can help your soul and your spirit to raise in vibration because it can raise the blood. And still you have two brothers that are fighting about this, Victor Coleman and Darrell Coleman, who one took the high road and refused to subliminate and to genetically find a cause for AIDS, and Darrell Coleman, who's out, has very little intellectual sense as far as his brother, who's a genius. Even they fight right there on the left. Here you have good and bad. And what I'm simply saying is you can take the high road or you can take the low road. You and your thoughts can either make an earthquake happen here, they can cause such destruction that all of you will be in tears. Or within the next 2 years you can so change it and act as a model to avert all of that. This is why you're going to find more metaphysical things happening here. The tremors will come back again. Mount St. Helens won't go off just yet. You get warnings, because good people always get warnings. But how you think, how your races live, how your politics live, how your religious faction lives, and truth will decide what you're going to do with Portland, Oregon, and all of Oregon itself. Of course, it's just the tip, shall we say, of the coming cataclysm. Okay.
I have a twofold question. By the way, thank you very much for coming here, Dr. Blair. I think the information that you have to impart here is critical in our development as melanated people, people of color, black people, whatever term that is comfortable. The first question is for someone who couldn't be here, and that is, what is the history of the white race? I personally have heard two stories, one under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the other one is Dogon allegory, the story of Lulu and Mello. So I'd like to get your insight on that. The second question is dovetailing off of the last questioner, and that is when might we expect some of these natural disasters to occur? And the B part of that question is, should we flee for more stable ground to the east, or should we just remain and wait to see what happens?
Okay. First of all, I thank you for the compliment. I don't know if you're going to appreciate my answer, but I do thank you for having stated at the onset that you were glad that I came. When I get into the origin of race, because we're too racist in this country, I have given you the origin in metaphors here today. Definitely there is a difference between the races. And there are 4 basic ones, not 5, but 4 basic races again. The planet will tell you where everybody came from simply because those that cannot adapt to the new melanin that is latent in all genetic structures, white, yellow also have melanin, will simply cease to exist. They will get sick and they will die. Melanated people, because melanin is very sensitive to drugs and low frequencies, who continue to use the drugs and continue to think negative thoughts, will also die. Melanin is like a channeler, a precursor. Those that have melanin latent in their genes from the Moors, the Moorish invasion of Europe per se, who have melanin because of things that were done some time ago, will find that melanin beginning to take to the fore. They'll be able to tan and not freckle. They'll begin to think under very oppressive radiation waves. And they'll begin to find that there is a soul there that they can call on. Those who had the soul and misused that energy, who were the genetic scientists, shall we say, of the 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, will find that it does not pay to overstep the bounds also, because what comes around is always worse than what is initiated. I simply will speak this way. The land that all races share upon, which could have been the melting pot, which is the United States, will suffer the worst because it is the one that more was hoped for. And whether or not it suffers here and how soon, again, I repeat, will depend on the vibrations of the people. You cannot lie to the air. You cannot lie to a creator. You can lie to men and deceive all you want, but the vibrations are around you in your electromagnetic field. The vibrations are over a city. The vibrations are over a state. The vibrations are over a country and a nation. And the whole planet can view what is happening from space. The pressures, when you hold things in, when you act nasty, will build up in the earth itself because you're part of the earth. And once you tune to those vibrations, what you do will immediately go to the 9th power. So I simply say, how soon? Depends on the vibrations of the people. There are whole groups of so-called psychics and so-called metaphysical groups that are constantly meditating and praying to dissipate that buildup of energy through the tunnel systems, to dissipate the energy from the inner sun. We didn't even talk about that, the soul of Earth, and have it to make frequency with Procyon and with our own sun in peacefulness without building up pressure. There are whole people that are trying to rise above racism and religiosity into this true spiritual vortex that is from the Creator. And I simply say that you choose for yourself. If it continues as it's going now, with the elections in '96, and a right-wing, very unfeeling, negative, mind-controlled Congress continues to do what it's going to do, it'll happen in '96, it'll be devastated by '98. But we have until, as was pointed out, either 2005, 2012, 2002, anyway, in a very short time, a combination of celestial bodies where pressure will be put upon the earth to stand alone or come into the Federation. And I simply say that choice you are making with each passing day, with each passing hour, every time you think, and you think beneath the dignity that you should hold as a soul creature. I can't tell you when it will happen, but I say it could be very, very soon.
I would like to take a moment and allow myself for you to read my mind and my soul. And so I'll keep a moment of silence and allow that to happen.
All right, will you audibly speak?
I did not hear you. Can you repeat what you said?
I said, would you
Continue.
audibly speak?
Yes. Well, I come from the region of Transylvania, and I've been here about 13 years. And there's certain experiences that I went through that I do not want to talk about in this place. But I've heard a lot of things that you're mentioning about alien beings and forces and names and history and civilization and so forth. And I think a lot of it's over my head because I do not have the same information you have, and those names don't really mean much to me. And maybe I can speak for a lot of other people who don't know those things. And I want to ask you, what do you think about changes that are not necessarily on that scientific plane that are taking place within people's hearts, transformations that we now can recall back? Spiritual enlightenment has become part of our everyday language. What is your thought or view on people like or embodied beings like Buddha or Christ, or people who have reached a certain experience that can share that with us, that we can no longer be blind? And I think that I would like you to leave something with us of that meaningful and powerful communication that we can take to our homes, we can take to our community.
I respect your deference, but I believe that you fully understand. As far as meditation and prayer, I think all of us should be doing that constantly. But it says also to act as well as pray. It says also to meditate and to effect change on a daily basis. I speak in workshops and say everybody should go into meditation at least a half an hour each day spent with themselves, away from TV and loved ones and hated ones and everything else, just to begin to find out who they are, because it all starts with self. As you well know, there are shapeshifters. There are those who have made pacts and agreements with alien beings, and they exist already under the very grounds on which we speak, and in other areas, in the Transvaal, in Pennsylvania, Transylvania, in the Carpathian Mountains, Caucasoid Range, out in Nevada, Utah. They've always been here, and as long as this planet was created for the specific purpose it was, they always will. But you don't have to follow them. You will come under the rule of the Almighty Creator in one form or another. Each individual must find his own truth, regardless of mama, daddy, societies, nefarious as they are. What we have here now is a time for each person with the soul vibrations, whether they learned it on this planet or came in with it, to go back to the source of truth, or you can't get away with it. There will be a change. Nobody can sit on the fence. One way or the other, one side will rule. I serve the powers of the light. I will stay that way. Anybody who wishes to meditate and bring out their best side, that is their choice. There's still time for choices. There's power in negativity and immediate rewards, and also immediate justice for some, which they're going to beg for mercy. For the worst condemnation that a creator could give would be to put all of those who feel that power, follow the serpent, together with nobody else for them to counteract with except themselves. That is justice. Let's hope that those who follow that receive mercy. Yes.
Dr. Blair, welcome to Portland. I would like to ask you a question about an experience that I have been having since the mid-60s and have been very reluctant to share with anyone here, negative thoughts. But what does the change that's going on now, what part does that have to play in a person's experiencing what is known as astral projection or out-of-body experience? That's my question.
Most of us, or a lot of us, I feel we understand fully astral projections. I'm not sure we all do.
Yeah.
But the astral or star plane is simply the sun plane. It's the soul plane. It's the ability to find out who we really are and be able to make contact with those energy forces in the universe, in the cosmos, in the solar system that are not bound to this planetary existence. It is our divine birthright. As many are teaching now, the raising of the Merkaba, the Ka and the Ba, the soul and the spirit, to the Mer of fluid emanations, the mind of the Creator, and flowing wherever the Creator creates, on whatever vibration is necessary, reforming a physical body if you want, or whichever, has always been that is given to the privileged few who know that the Creator's existence creates all things. For those who get locked into the physical, and one way of getting locked in there is to go to the extremes that I just noted, where you actually begin to try and destroy that you cannot create, which means a direct thwarting of the Creator himself or herself. Then, of course, they get locked into the body, and they suffer physically because physical is all that they know. And they drive the stakes into the ground and chain them to that very planet. They have no sun existences. They have no dark hole existences. They simply are then physical. So I think the term astral projection is just one of the many overused terms, cliched, badinaged, to the point that it simply means that we are not the body, those who have souls, and the light can shine through even if it's astral at night through the pineal pituitary binary.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome to Portland, Dr. Blair.
Morning.
I'm concerned about the little grays and the reptilians. As far as being the fallen angels, can you elaborate a little bit on that on the metaphysical level, please?
Well, in the term limited as I am of the fallen angels, we speak not just to a person, but to a group of angels of the arc arcs of energy surround a universe and individual solar systems, and that they chose to disconnect from the light and chose to begin, as Lucifer, the shining one, to create their own energy, their own light force, and to have people worship, and again, for power. So once that fall took place, then others could fall, and laggards could be sent here from other systems where they had proven that they were not good enough to go on for a final showdown and chance. And that once these laggards were accepted here, and once the temples of the white light couldn't do anything with them, as they turned even against the gods themselves, as they were called, that we've had a problem here. And therefore, all the very negative forces could then concentrate on 21 such planets like this to bring about whatever had to happen. But these serve as, shall we say, guideposts as to what will happen in the future, which we're creating at the present. For our past has been someone's future is our past. All things interchange. Here, the privilege of seeing what fell can rise may be what we can bring about. If not, then as those who fell from grace, from the higher vibrations, from the 7th and 6th and 5th dimensions, they'll manifest here and find out what it's like to go backwards and become just third dimensional all over again for what would seem to them forever. That would be the worst curse that could ever be put upon people who fell away from truth. For those who then have found that it wasn't worth it, and for those who came to try and teach and help, they'll get their rewards too. For they will be the new gods, not the Creator, but the new gods of the universe. That's my truth.
Good evening and welcome to Portland. My name is Barbara. I don't know if you're familiar with the meteor shower that's been happening over the city of Mexico for probably a 90-day period. I caught like a 10 excerpt on a cable network, and they said that the national networks would not cover it. Number one question about that, if you do know about it, what do you think the significance is of that? Number two, does it have anything at all to do with the Olmec Society, which dwelled in the southern tip of Mexico? And number three, might that have anything at all to do with what the natives believe would have happened anyway? For instance, those so-called statuettes or statues on Easter Island that were supposed to have been mobilized at one time in robots. Once a year, the natives down there dress up in these costumes that look like our space uniforms, and they say that people are coming back, their gods are coming back. Is this all related? Does it have any significance at all? And why has it been underplayed by the press?
I'm glad you didn't have many questions.
This is the first female question, so I'm making up for all those that did stand up.
The latter part I'm not even going to speak to, but I'm glad that a female asked the question. Like my psychology professor used to answer me in school, yes, yes, no, no, right, right, and by. And it would frustrate me no end until I began to also be able to play that kind of a mind game. I don't like to play games anymore. I think simply that the Easter Island monolith, or the tip of the Feld Mu, or pond, where they were still constructing these things to ship them across to their satellites and divisions throughout the Earth, that the meteor shower I've heard something about, not in detail, but there have been many meteor showers which are nothing but incoming spaceships, if you would, and laboratory ships, much as was shown in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They send these things to test and to sample and to let them know what's happening.
We're sending them, or someone else is sending them?
We're not sending them.
Oh, okay.
United States, if you mean we, has a whole fleet of electromagnetic sources, if you would. They have beam weaponry. Even at the time when they recruit money for it, they already have it. They have cloned the little grays. They really have advanced technology. The only really thing, they weren't able to build Avro cars or alien vehicle, what they call it, ordinances, that could shoot at the same time through this electromagnetic field, because they only have an electrical field. So they taught them just enough to get them in trouble, but they could still shoot them out of the skies, and they couldn't shoot the aliens out of the skies. The energies here are, again, as I think I tried to say before, maybe not too well, I'll try again, that all of these things will take place. Alien or extraterrestrial vehicles, changes in vibrational rates and storms and things along this line, hiding by Reuters and ANP and UPI, and some things that are said, but people will read it, but we won't believe it. These are happening not only because the Olmec saw it happen, because the Dogon saw it happen, because the Tuareg saw it happen, because the Shilluk saw it happen, because the Maui Islanders saw it happen, but because locked still in these people are souls that wish to reconnect. They continue to bring in the light. Others are growing toward the light that they're bringing in, and it will be made so clear as to what's bad and negative and what's good and positive, or positive and negative should be variances, that everybody will be able to choose. These are only signs for what we would call second coming, the revision, the revitalization, wormwood, whatever you want. It just shows that a time of change is very near. And these are the signs that kind of precourse that change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome to Portland, sir.
Thank you.
I need to know, I was traveling, coming from Pakistan, and I experienced something that was remarkable. What happened was, there was a high-pitched sound that really bent me over, but as I looked around, nobody else was affected. I've had other experiences where I hear high-pitched sounds, but, nothing that devastating. I was wondering if you might be able to elaborate on it, if you had any knowledge of it, or...
There are many sounds that are going about. Some are called the Tao's hum. There is what is called the International Geological Hemispheric Program. It's through the Bering Straits, so some refer to as the Bering Straits Project. It is a project using what they call moles, M-O-L-E, and not the underground CIA implanted moles, the people who are, again, sublimated and carrying out bad dictums, but more the molecular organizing laser equipment, which are digging holes. They started off going maybe about 6 foot every day, and now they're able to make such rapid progress that it's even frightening to them. A lot of people were destroyed, their minds ripped asunder, and their souls even shattered using that kind of electromagnetic device, but nevertheless they're using it. And it is a part of digging out the holes underground, connecting with many of the underground cities, from Pashot to Gartha. Of course, they don't go into Gartha, but they will use what they call cavern worlds. And they're trying to re-enlarge these places to hide people from the surface when the so-called cleansing takes place. They are utilizing the existing tunnels from Agartha to Shambhala to Posai to, there's a couple of, I can't even remember the names now, but there are just many, many cities and tunnels. The earth is honeycombed with them. So underneath these western areas, these vibration tunnel borings are, of course, driving people nuts per se, because they're using frequencies that are very bad for between the heart decibels and the brain frequencies, and many people are disturbed by them. So as they continue this project to enlarge, to renovate, if you would, and to bore in from the cities that now exist, since they are not allowed to sometimes use the existing chasms, into these big tunnel ways by which they can circumvent the earth and hopefully hide there as they have before and as they think they can do again. It won't work, because the soul of earth this time will put out vibrations that will collapse those tunnels and will send such resonances through them that they'll go mad there too. But as any other person who won't conform and thinks that they are the creator, they will have to suffer their own ignorance.
Good evening, Dr. Blair, and welcome again to Portland, Oregon. I have a two-part question that I would like to get answered about the sun. And the question is, that we look at, is it really the sun, or is it a reflection of a bigger sun in the universe? And also, is there a sun up under the ground? And if it is, will you please elaborate on it?
The sun, as I understand it, is only a reflection of other chakra centers in the minds of the various gods leading to the creator. The chakra systems in this planetary universal individual must align. And so the centers are the suns, which emit frequencies to keep physical, etheric, astral, and mental, well, not mental, but astral, separate and balanced at the same time, are what the sun systems are. There are said to be people that live on the sun. There can be sun existences. Then there are whole worlds and universes without suns, where the people create their own light, create their own energy centers, and create again their own suns. Those are the sons of the sun. At the same time, this planet, and all planets are hollow, have a central sun, which is the soul of that planet. Any planet created without that, such as our moon, even though it's hollow too, is an artificial satellite set in by the provinces of what they call serpent people, or the ones that are not of the faith, to set up an electrical field to imbalance all planets and to control the people and sublimate them. The soul of Earth, which is very vibrant, has received this new energy and is expanding. It's setting up a corridor, a vortex, of the many vortexia that are around planets, to allow those of the light to return. Before, it was just like reaching into a cesspool, and they couldn't take the vibrations, or they wouldn't incarnate to go through that kind of thing just to help out when the people in turn were not ready to be helped. Now that there's so many incarnating that are ready to be helped, that corridor is once more opened. It was opened between 43 and 83 with the Philadelphia experiment. It's been kept open through negative means, but now it will be used also as a passage, as the various corridors and things that are on Earth revibrate, to open up many corridors now where advanced people and higher minds and higher souls can now re-enter, and those that are here can reawaken. It's a time of change. So yes, I believe in the inner sun and outer sun, and the corridor of the sun, as they call it, the vortex path.
Good evening, Dr. Blair. My name is Stella, and I have, I think, 3 questions. First of all, I'd like to know about the reptilians.
About which?
The reptilians. I'd like to know, from a scale to 1, from 1 to 10, how far did they fall, or how evolved were they?
How evolved were the reptilians?
Yes. And, you know, how low were their fall? How did they come about?
Is that the question, or is there more?
Pardon me?
Was that it, or is there more?
That's one. Okay.
That's just one?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I hope it's not going to be 20 questions here. Let's go with the first one again, because I can see this may be lengthy. To my understanding, the Dracons, as they're called, and Draconian, as they would call it again, existed as a 13th planet right on the perimeter. We are actually supposed to be in the Canis Major, Canis Minor, Sirius system. Since Orion is very close in the southern hemisphere, they had a lot of negativity to what is called the Unholy Six and the Orion, the Pleiadians. If you read Barbara Masiniak's books, she has a very good explanation, except that she has bought them, except when she came back with Earth, the Living Library, which she finally says they're admitting that they have control now that they are losing, because they've now got to go back into their past to correct our future. So they found, like everybody else, you could only get away with it for as long as for a limited time. But the energies that come in enable a whole group of people called dinoids and reptoids, who, because of the way they looked and the need for a more icy, a colder vibration, looked down upon the warm-blooded laggards and the crossbreeds, as they call them here. They also could serve the universal prime creator. They also could serve first cause. But because they were so advanced and put here first, instead of realizing they now could fall further, they felt again that they should now have direct control and that humanoids should worship them. They found out that there was a power greater than them, and so instead of fighting that power, they returned, now discouraged, to go back to the old climes. But this time that's going to change too now. So yes, they're here. Yes, they do exist. Yes, they did have a whole lot of say-so on Earth. They no longer will have. They will try, though, and they're on their way back. Okay, that's number 1.
Number 2 is I see spirits quite often. Some of them are dark shadows, some of them I can make out. For instance, there's a lady in blue that walks up and down the hall all the time. There are three to four people that have come in and have seen this lady. Things have ended up being knocked off of the pictures have been knocked off my walls. And one particular one I saw peeking from behind the drapes was just a tall, dark figure. And when I stepped over toward it, it just jumped back and disappeared. I would like to know, what do you think these spirits are all about? It's not too high of a spirit. I don't think the dark one is, I'm asking your opinion, of course. But the lady in blue, she hangs out in the second bedroom. I mean, you can feel her energy when you walk into the room. Just like you're being electrocuted, but lightly, like little needles sticking in your body. That's number 2. Now, how do you remove them? How do you remove them?
We will stop with 3.
How do you remove them?
In respect to you, after 3, that will be the end of it. What you need is a personal consultation. We'll give you tomorrow, given the time.
Okay.
If you read the book by, I can't think of the lady's name. She writes about the crops, Morden Howell. She has a very excellent breakdown of different types of aliens, or at least what people are considering aliens, including the blue lady with the blue electromagnetic field, the yellow creatures, and again, all of these. We're at a time now where we're finding, like, as I say again, we're in what we call a frequency, and it's not a vacuum. These frequencies, as long as they don't cross, can all exist separate but equal. Anomalies come when these lines of force, these crests and troughs, cross. And now they have warping machinery that can cause the dimensionals to frequency downward into our dimension. They enter into rooms, they use technology to do what used to be Merkabas and spiritual awakening used to be able to do. They can do this now because, as I say, they're in between a time of flux, in between the next frequency and this one. Pretty soon those operators will find that they'll get stuck in between time and in between frequencies. That's hell. But yet they still play games by going to lower dimensions to laud what they haven't when other dimensions above them also watch. The watchers also seek, the seekers also watch. People play games in consciousness. They can do so on this planet, as I say, because there's 21 special ones. But soon that's going to change. What is happening with you may be because of the building, because of who you are and don't know who you are, because of whatever little abyss or vortex has been opened in that building or in your consciousness. I would no more even begin to try and tell you how to adjust that before an audience than I would personally if you are not right. If you are right, you already have been told what you shouldn't have done or what you should do to help that situation. Stop listening so much to others who don't understand and cleanse the self that you know you do understand. Okay? Grandmother and auntie are not always right. Right? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Blair, it's good to see you.
Good for you being here.
Question. And it's dealing with this Pacific Northwest corner. I'm a 50-year-old black male from Mississippi. It's my home. And no place has I ever seen. And maybe you can tell me, or maybe you can give some generality of what's happening as far as the signs, but this love affair of the white man and the black woman and the black woman and the white man, and this mixture, is this a good thing that's happening? Or I only see it here in this Pacific Northwest more than any other place. I don't understand it, and it boggles. We've been wrestling with this thing. Groups of us get together and we try to just understand this. What's happening? That this, it seems like a love affair that the black man has for this white woman, or you got to, but yet the relations, as far as the black man and the white man, look like it's separating. But this mixing and this intermixing, it's just boggling to my mind, brother. And maybe if you can give some clarity or some insight to what is really happening here. And I'm saying the Pacific Northwest up here because I don't see it other places as prevalent as I do here. And if I'm sounding crazy, just tell me to shut up. But it seems like that's what's happening. And I've talked to other people, and it seems like they're saying the same thing also, that up here that it's more prevalent. And maybe you can give some insight on it for us.
Well, first of all, you listened to me for 3 hours, so we won't even talk about what's crazy and erotic, psychotic and not. Secondly, species now and the kind of souls that want to enter into those species bodies are back here for certain reasons. There are no weak souls being born now. Some of the souls coming into existence now will walk over you. The kids, these children as we call them, are old souls, warrior souls, back here for specific reasons, all of them strong, all of them knowing what they want. And unless you put them in their place quickly, and the government is trying to stop you from doing that because they don't want you to under-recognize those souls that are coming in, they will open the floodgates for every negative thing, or they'll come and fight every negative thing tooth and nail because they're the last ones to come back. They are the strong ones. They are the strongest. Now, and I could go on that about drugs and why they allow them to have and what this does to melanin and all like this. Let me go directly to your question without equivocation. We enter into either male or female bodies. Our hormone supply may make us homosexual. We still have preferences, whatever body we find ourselves in, simply because we are the strong old souls. There are relationships that have been set up that what we now call racially have nothing to do with race. There are old and young people that will come together because there's true love and a true graduation of that soul competent together. There are white people that will see black people with hate, and there are black people that will see white people with hate, And white people will see black people with love, and black people will see white people with love, because they're going to look into their souls. You must understand that whatever you love or hate, you draw to you in the next incarnation. If you don't believe in reincarnation, that's not my fault. Let me also say that what must be justified and done or undone will be done in this lifetime or the next, and that's all we're going to get. Everything else will be settled on the spiritual soul plane, and there'll be wars in the heavens as there were before. If we can understand not to judge but to live your own life fully, then you understand finding love in any form, in any race, is a very harsh undertaking you're taking on this planet, and you're blessed if you can find it. If these people are so moved to even take the racism that exists in this country and still try to get together, God bless them. Let me say that their own souls will suffer and their physical bodies will suffer simply because they have come to a racist planet in one of the most racist countries on the face of the earth. This state is only a microcosm. I see it in Chicago. I've been in New Jersey. I've been in New York. I've been to Philadelphia. I've been to Texas. It's happening all over. It's not just here. You think it's here. It's not just here. The female wants to give birth on this planet, and it's through that channel and through that womb that the new people come in. The white woman is drawn to the black man because of the vibrations of melanin and the fear that what she's giving birth to will not be able to survive in the new age. At the same time, it can survive and will survive, but not as an Earth's surface. To stay on the surface, you must have melanin. Men have always fought over women when women have been short and the sexual exchanges have been cut back. There's a man for every woman and a woman for every man. We're told that women outnumber the men on this planet. That is not true. But the men do liquidate themselves in wars much faster than women do. What the vibrations now are saying, take whatever body you want for your soul vibration to finally find truth in this dispensation. And when you can understand that the teachings were, and I know many people will not like what I'm going to say, but many people have not liked a lot of things that I've said. The soul will enter into a body near an end age that can best learn from and get things straight with. I can't put it any more simplistic. And souls can change bodies, and whatever you hate or love, you must enter into in order to learn why you hated or loved it. That's why it's good to stay in the middle pillar, the middle path, not get too much in love, or too much in sex, or too much in anything, but find your path of righteousness and the path of spirituality. There are black people who hated white people that are now incarnated as white people on this planet. Mark my words, I'm talking about planet Shan, not Terra, Earth. There are white people who hated black people that are now incarnated as black people, and that's why when these souls now will not stand for injustice, it's because they have had lifetimes of living outside of that fear and that kind of degradation. It's a time of truth. Souls have no colors. People do. If you can't learn when you're in the body, you have to experience it again. And new birth will come in, and woman still wants to preserve the best channel for her soul offspring. That's the best I can take.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. By the way, too, after the last response to the brother in the white sweater, please don't everybody run away. I have a few other things I'd like to share with you, and don't have to worry. I won't be here tomorrow to bore you. I'll be taking off again. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to contribute a couple things that may have something to do with what you were talking about tonight. And one is that an alignment of planets has already occurred about 2 weeks ago in Sagittarius, 7 planets. And in ancient days, all they knew about was 7 planets, not the ones we know about today also. I think that's very important and has caused a lot of changes. And the second is that if you can expand your metaphor of the lizard people to include amphibians, consider the following. A person named Newt. Just thought I'd throw that in. Okay. Yeah.
Yep, Newt Gingrich. Yeah, you're right. You said it. I didn't. It's my belief that we have a 12-planet system. They've already, on Apollo 15 and Apollo 14 and Apollo 13, discovered that the 10th one, and in the House papers circulated amongst the august, the British Astronomer Royal and all this kind of stuff. They're talking about it. They even have photographs of it. But, of course, they're still not. I state that the systems are always in 12, and it's the 13th that sets the anomaly. We're about to get that 13th back again, and that's why there will be an instability, and any unstable atom must, of course, change. So even though they're bad, they're serving a good purpose, too, because it's a time for the change. I guess the other one I already kind of spoke to. A newt is a newt by any other name. It's still a newt. Not a neuter, though, huh? Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Blair. I've learned that dimensional change goes from the 90 degrees of the right angle and to a perpendicular line to go from the second to the third dimension. You've been thinking of dimensional change as through frequencies and vibrations. How do you fully explain that? How do the frequencies and vibrations and a right angle meet for dimensional change?
Right angles to the isosceles triangle, and again, sacred geometry, and so on and so again. Let's just say, without trying to get into superphysics, which I don't even think I'm capable of doing, that time is, dimensions are, frequency is also. If we think of there being a first cause, I can't begin without a beginning, so I have to just accept a premise, my basic premise being first cause, which I refer to as universal prime creator, because all the other names I heard, I don't know if they're true or not, so why give it a name? But there is a first cause for my truth. With that premise as a basis, let us build from it. From that consciousness of totality expanding in all directions, it must form a circle somewhere along the line. When all vibrations and rays catch up with each other. That parameter then will be what is called the known, have developed from the unknown or first cause. Then when you linearize that, making your box, your T-square, your triangle, your circle, you're seeing all the paradigms that may espouse from that beginning. And thus is developed sacred geometry. You find again in sacred geometry they still use the flower and cross circles, which creates a new dimension. Linear persuasion only falls in with the tree of life. In Dronbello Melchizedek's book, everything in this book is true, but everything in this book is really good. But what's the name of that one again? Anybody read that book? Everything in this book is true, but it's exactly the way things are, or something like this. But at any rate, in sacred geometry, they show you the million-petaled locus, 1,001-petaled locus again, if you would, with the million different differentialities, and after that, we've already changed octaves. When you're using linear concept, then you're using flatlining or one-dimensional. When you use, again, as they teach in geometry and so, to get in the inner lines, then you can begin to connect them and shade them, and you begin to get depth, and then width, and then breadth, and so on again like this. All I'm trying to say is, if we think of it in a more simple term for a person like me, that there is universal mind and then fluctuations within it. And as the mind fluctuates and then it gets on far enough on the tangent, ego becomes the anomaly, which then seeks to find out where it came from, and before it goes back, wants to affect change. And then ego stems from that, and pretty soon you have differentiations on that one line. I simply think that we're in somebody's mind, that the frequencies of that mind are infinite, and as we change our frequencies, we experience just for infinite time reality, which we call life. That when we get tired of that game and play, we can't cease to exist because we didn't think ourselves into being. We were part of, again, the equation of night and day, rest and breathing and yin and yang and so on again like that, the aerodynamic, again, corollaries that go with that. I simply say that sacred geometry is true, the sacredness of the mind is true, the trips of the soul and divisions of the soul are true, and the being able to call it all back together is also true. So I think it's just a time when we went out on the exhale, and now it's time for Brahma to call it back in again. Because Brahma can be a million different names.
Thank you.
Well, I brought with me a number of products. Some of you are aware of the Meta Center, in which I'm director in Chicago, and have called for our tapes. We have a lot of video and audio tapes. We have a number of health products which we hope will help you to become better souls. And also we have a lot of oxygenating products which help you to kill off a lot of the anaerobic viruses and bacteria, even down to silverloid and aurum and gold, which will raise your blood rates and stop these things from having homage in your home, which is your temple, which is your body. We also have brain products to help you to concentrate memory, avert Alzheimer's, which is nothing but aluminum poisoning and radiation poisoning, and many other things that supposedly they can't solve, but they well know they can. We can cure the common cold. Okay? That's one of the easiest things to cure. The point is, again, if you can raise your vibration, get rid of the mucus from the animal and dairy products, and again put oxygen to the body so that the higher self can begin to live, your vibration of your blood will change and everything else about you will change, and that that is below you cannot exist within you. Also, you must make up your mind that that's the mind that you want to affect, and you can't be changed and swayed by lower vibrations, people's words and everything else. You have to stick with what you're going to do. But at least we can help you to raise the vibrations internally to maintain that hopefully your mind will have. Because of that, I said 3 minutes, I have products here that can do those things for you. And on the table are oxygen products called Genesis 1000. On the table, again, are brain products. We have it called Brain 3. On the table are what we consider one of the best multivitamin mineral tablets around. On the table is hydrogen peroxide for those cuts and infections, and 35% food grade, not the 3% that you get in the stores. And on the table, of course, are ginkgo, which help again to raise your energy and hold the energy once you've raised it up with the Mary, Octacosanol, and Duraplex, and many of the other things there. We have a whole list back there of products with just a brief description by heading. We have products for stamina. We have products for sexual activity. We have products for mental activity. We have products for the immune system, products for stress, products to help conserve the myelin sheath. We have products for just about everything. The only thing we say, we research them as best we can, and they are the best in the line that we can get. We have superior products, and we label them as such. We have excellent products, and we have good products. Knowingly, we will not sell you bad products again. Again, if you wish to buy any of those things, it makes my plane trip less burdensome. I don't have to pay the $40 for the extra box. And if you don't, I'll sell them someplace else. I only hope that you did hear what I did have to say. But also for those of you on a very monetary basis or into multi-level marketing, we have a way where you can sell some of the products and make money also again. Either way, the monetary system won't be lasting too much longer anyway. I'd say enjoy yourself while you can. Make life happier during this season for others as well as yourself, and feel the vibrations of goodness, not just at Christmas, but all year through. The planet will enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it, and so will those you love, who may even begin to love you. So much, Creator bless you.